Hello guys, it's me Butterfly Spirit 314. So guys, I went to Walmart tonight and I brought a tripod for less than $10. But that's not what this video is about. What this video is about is the fact that when I was walking out of Walmart, there was a guy that was working the Walmart security. And he asked me, he's like, "Excuse me, can I ask you a question?" And he said, "It's about an engagement ring." And I was like, "Engagement ring? Huh?" I'm like, what? So he said he told me that he has a friend that came up to Walmart to buy an engagement ring, and his friend ended up bringing his fiance with him. And together, as a couple, his friend and this lady were going to be looking at the engagement rings in the Walmart jewelry section. And the guy was like, "Well, I wouldn't even buy cologne here. I mean, I know I work here, but the rings in the jewelry case, they're, cubic zirconia." And I was like, "Yeah, I could see that. They're, and I didn't know the rings in the Walmart jewelry case were cubic zirconia. I had no idea." And so he was like, "Well, my friend could have took his lady to a pawn shop or something, because at least the rings at a pawn shop are genuine and of higher quality, where they have real diamonds and stuff. Here," he was like, "Well, here at Walmart, those aren't real diamonds. They're cubic zirconia." And I was like, "Yeah, I can see that." And so he said that, you know, he ended up going over to the jewelry case, taking, his friend and his friend's lady over to the jewelry case. But as it turns out, he didn't have the keys to open the jewelry case. And I said to him, "Well, maybe it was a sign that they weren't supposed to buy a ring, yesterday when they came in to get one." And so I could also see his side, but I could also see his friend's side as well. And the gentleman that approached me, he was a older gentleman and things, that he just wanted to get my perspective and stuff, which I'm like, wow, I'm happy that he felt like he can, ask me something, because I'm like, wow. So the Walmart security guy, he's like, "Well, when, his friend and his friend's lady were over at the jewelry case, his friend's fiance, she was so happy to be getting an engagement ring." And, to me, I was like, well, that's nice, you know. And what makes it so nice is the fact that this lady may be getting a Walmart engagement ring, potentially, but at least she's happy to be getting a ring. And even if the rings at Walmart are not expensive, she's with his friend because she genuinely loves him. For her, it's not about the price of the ring, it's about the thought that counts to her. And she's letting, his friend know that she's really into him and she really loves him. And that she doesn't have to have, $1 million ring or $10,000 ring or $100,000 ring or something, because her love is genuine. And she's happy about the fact that he even thought about, he's even getting her a ring. And I think it's wonderful in a way that, that the guy would bring his fiance to look at a ring. The reason why is because at least she can be there to pick it out. There are some guys who will go and they will buy an engagement ring for their fiance, and the ring may not be a ring that their fiance is going to like, and they go and they bring it home and they get down on one knee or surprise her in front of, her family or something. And the woman might say no because she might be mad because the ring is not expensive enough, or the ring is not, the color stone that she wanted, or the diamond's not big enough for her or something. And, in that regard, I mean, this guy buying, getting a Walmart engagement ring, he's making sure that his fiance is going to like it and she can actually pick it out. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it's great. When I was engaged, um, my fiance that I had some years ago, me and him went to the mall and I was able to pick out a ring that I liked. And I felt like, wow, hey, at least I'm getting a chance to pick it out, instead of him guessing, because a ring he may like and think that I'll like may not be a ring that I'd actually like, because I wasn't too open to really sharing a lot. And so, it would have kind of been like a catch 22 for him. And he may have felt like nervous, like, oh man, she don't like this or that. And so it can make it easy for a man if he is, bring his fiance along to buy a ring, which I think this guy taking his fiance to Walmart to get a ring, I think it's fine. I don't, I really don't see anything wrong with it. So I think it's beautiful that the guy was taking his fiance to Walmart. I had to stop the video and go get my cookies out of the oven before they burned. That's why it's like a break in the video. So, um, I think it's great. You know, now the Walmart security guy. What do I think about, his perspective versus his friend's perspective? And I'm seeing both sides and stuff. And it's because I'm listening that I'm able to understand both sides. So for the security guy, his perspective, if he's engaging a woman that he's with, he feels like he wants to get a genuine ring. He wants to get a ring that is a real diamond. And that's fine. Real diamonds these days, those things are expensive, you know? And going to a pawn shop is a good way to get a genuine diamond, because they're going to test those, diamond rings there to make sure they're genuine. So the guy is right that you can get a genuine diamond at the pawn shop. Now, are the pawn shops on the up and up? I mean, could they be trying to sell you a fake ring? Yeah. Could they try to overcharge you for a ring? Yes, they could do that. Are they going to be, it's kind of, you don't know if they're going to be honest with you or not. I mean, if you do find a ring, they may try to charge you more. I mean, you'd really have to find someone at a pawn shop who is genuine. Somebody, you may want somebody to recommend a good pawn shop that you can go to where the person behind the counter is going to be honest and genuine, and make sure you're going to get a good quality ring. You know what I mean? And, you know, I think that's kind of the best way to go. I mean, going into a pawn shop, when you're pawning something there, they barely give you a lot of money for the thing you're pawning. So when you're going in there and buying something, as you can imagine, they're going to be marking that up like 5 or 10 times the value of what they gave somebody, who pawned it, and maybe never came back for it, you know. So in a way, the pawn shops are being greedy, and maybe the guy's friend may not have wanted to deal with that. You know, I think that maybe the guy's friend maybe wanted to get a Walmart ring, a ring that he knew he could afford. And maybe his friend was trying to um, get a ring for right now for his fiance, and then maybe save up for a diamond or something like that later on down the line, which is fine, right? But for the Walmart security guy, he's about, getting a genuine ring. And one thing I suggested to him, I said, well, your friend could go to a jewelry store at the mall. They have genuine diamonds, and they can test the diamond and stuff. And the great thing about those rings at the mall and stuff is that, um, you can make sure, like, a guy can make sure his fiance's ring, that, engagement ring finger can be measured so that, they could get a ring in the right size and the right stone for her. And so, I mean, yes, it could be expensive if you're going to like a Zales or something like that. Um, but hey, at least you're going to get something. You know, it's going to be real. It's just going to be more expensive. The pawn shop can be a little bit more affordable or not. I think it would be important to shop around for, a guy, or a guy and a girl and stuff, to shop around for an engagement ring before they kind of decide on where they're going to be getting it from. But I mean, I can see it. And the Walmart security guy, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, the way he would go about it is that he'd go to a pawn shop and get a ring. Fine. And he's probably the type of guy that he's probably not going to bring his fiance. He's probably just going to surprise her. But his fiance may or may not like the ring that he picks out for her, you know, whereas his friend wants to bring, his lady to Walmart to choose her ring, you know. It all depends. Now for the guy that's getting the Walmart ring, I guess just kind of feel like I think it's cute in a way. Like, I just think that the fact that his friend is engaging his lady, I think is beautiful. And I think that, an engagement ring doesn't have to be super expensive. It can be something that is a symbol of the engagement. And maybe the guy getting the Walmart ring, maybe he's spending a little bit of money on the engagement ring, and maybe he's going to be getting a more expensive wedding ring. Maybe the guy is going a bit cheap on the engagement ring because maybe he's going to have, a surprise, when it comes to putting down a deposit on buying a house, you know? And the guy may be thinking ahead. Just because he's getting a Walmart engagement ring doesn't mean he's not thinking ahead. And he's also thinking about what he can afford right now, which makes sense. Maybe it may not be as genuine or fancy, but it's really the thought that counts. And the quality of that relationship is what matters, not necessarily how expensive the ring is. There's people who spend thousands of dollars on wedding rings and thousands of dollars on weddings and shit. And then the damn marriage doesn't fucking work out. And then here it is, people, they've gone into debt and the relationship's over and they're still paying on the wedding. And then they're no longer together. Like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's better to kind of go into, if you're going to go into a marriage, hey, it's okay not to spend a lot of money. In fact, I found out the fact that this year, when it comes to weddings, the trend is like having micro weddings now. So these are like small, intimate weddings where, you have a wedding maybe in your backyard or in a park, or, you have a wedding in a more intimate setting with a few people rather than having a huge, big blowout of a wedding and inviting thousands of people who may or may not fucking show up. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, hey, I don't see nothing wrong with that. Saving some money, because, you don't know if people are going to show up to your wedding. If you have a small wedding, hey, that's fine. When my brother got married, him and his wife, they went to Vegas and they had like I guess you could say like a destination Vegas wedding. And hey, it worked for them. I mean, I didn't get to go. My dad didn't get to go, but, they got married at a time when they wanted to. And I think it's really up to the bride and groom as to what they want to do for a wedding. And it's about what makes them happy. You ain't got to worry about the outside appearances. Forget that. It's, the real thing is about being together and supporting each other, listening to each other, loving each other. Loving each other at a time where you may not even want to tolerate each other, but y'all still working through it. You know what I'm saying? And y'all are growing together and learning. that is what is important. You know, I mean, you can get the expensive stuff, you can at a later date, but it's also important to be realistic. But I see both of these gentlemen's sides. You know, I really do. And I think neither of them are wrong. I just think they have their own perspectives. And the guy that's working in Walmart security, he just wants to, you know, he just has a different perspective, which is fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. His friend's perspective is fine too. But I think overall, you know, it's really about what makes the, you know, people happy at the end of the day. You know, I think that's really what matters, is about being happy. Having an expensive ring doesn't mean you're going to be happy in your relationship, because that relationship can wither and die and be over, and you still have the ring, but there goes the relationship. You know what I'm saying? There goes the love and the companionship, you know. And that's what people really want, is to have relationships that are filled with love, trust, that are fulfilling, where you have someone that is there, you know, and you can share things with, you know. I think that's really the most important, you know, not necessarily how expensive the ring is. And it's okay for the ring to be real. You know, I mean, going to the pawn shop, you know, the guy may not get a big, huge diamond. You may get a small diamond, but at least it's something that the earth created. And, you know, it's far more precious, you know. So I can see that side too from the Walmart security guy. But anyway, I think it's amazing. But anyway, tell me what you guys think. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.